or 300,000 years, one question has stalked our species like a shadow. Why did Homo sapiens survive while every other human species vanished? We were not the strongest, we were not the fastest, we were not even the most numerous, yet somehow, we became the only humans left on Earth, and buried inside our bones, and in our DNA. Maybe a secret more astonishing than any ancient myth, a hidden advantage that turned fragile wanderers into the planet's ultimate storytellers, explorers, and survivors. Imagine a plane beneath a washed-out African sky. Wind carries the smell of dust and smoke. A child runs laughing between the legs of hunters. A woman grinds red ochre on a flat stone. Farther on, beside the shelter of a limestone outcrop, someone has shaped a stone into a blade, so sharp it will change what people can do. For a long time, the story scientists told themselves was tidy. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, appeared in a single place, in East Africa, perhaps 200,000 years ago, then stepped out and spread over the world, replacing older cousins. But the Earth is never tidy, and bones do not answer to neat maps. In a cave in Morocco, miners once found a skull that did not fit the story. When scientists re-examined that skull, along with other bones and tools from the same place, the dates surprised them. The remains were far older than expected, more than 300,000 years old. Those bones hinted that the beginnings of our species were not a single spark in one valley, but a long, continent-wide conversation, pieces of humanity appearing in many places across Africa, changing, mixing, wandering. Look at a modern face and you may see the legacy of very old choices in biology. A short face, a rounded brain case, small teeth. But the ancient skulls from places like Morocco show a strange mix, faces that look very modern, paired with brain cases that still have the long, low shape of earlier humans. It is as if evolution was trying on features, mixing parts, making a new design slowly, across time and place. Yet anatomy alone does not make culture. A subtle revolution, the rise of what archaeologists call behavioral modernity, marks the slow bloom of symbolic thought. Beads strung as ornaments, ochre ground into pigment, tools made from bone, deliberate burials. These behaviors do not all appear at once, and they do not appear only in one place. Some sites show evidence of pigment use and shaped tools tens of thousands of years before. What was long considered the universal jump into modern behavior, this scattered, piecemeal emergence suggests that being modern was a process, not an instant. Close your eyes and picture a map, not of borders, but of blood. Invisible lines where genes flow from one population to another. For much of the 20th century, scholars imagined species as tidy branches on a tree. The new picture is messier, branches that touch, overlap, and sometimes fuse. When our ancestors left Africa and walked into Europe and Asia, they were not alone. There were Neanderthals on the European stage, and the mysterious Denisovans in parts of Asia. We now know with unsettling clarity that Homo sapiens did not simply replace these groups. They met, they fought, they mated, and they left pieces of themselves behind in our genomes. Modern people outside Africa carry a small but meaningful fraction of Neanderthal DNA, a genetic souvenir of encounters long ago. Likewise, fragments of Denisovan DNA survive in people from parts of Asia, Oceania, and beyond. These minglings were not a single event, but multiple encounters. Across space and time, a braided history written in our cells. There are mysteries with bones and mysteries without. Denisovans are the most haunting kind. First glimpsed as a single finger bone in a Siberian cave, they were strangers at the table of human history. But their genetic voice echoes loudly in the indigenous peoples of New Guinea, in the Tibetans who can breathe where the air is thin, in traces across Asia. Recent genetic studies suggest not one, but several waves of Denisovan-like populations contributing to modern human genomes, different Denisovan groups, in different places, at different times. The result is a patchwork, pockets of deep ancestry scattered across the world. Imagine meeting a civilization you leave only a stain with. For us, that stain became adaptation to high altitudes, to particular pathogens, perhaps even to subtle shifts in metabolism. Our ancient strangers live on in us. Asterisk, when did modern humans leave Africa? The old headline, Ouchie of Africa, is both true and incomplete. Our species certainly expanded beyond Africa in multiple movements, but the timing and roots were complex. New studies of ancient DNA and stone tool styles suggest that movements happened earlier and more often than previously thought. Some modern human groups may have stepped out, mixed with archaic populations, retreated, and then left again, a pattern of pulses rather than a single exodus. Recent analyses of ancient genomes and archaeological layers paint a picture of repeated contact and exchange. People moving out, foraging across new landscapes, encountering new climates and neighbors, and sometimes staying to form lasting lineages. Some of the most important interbreeding events with Neanderthals took place tens of thousands of years ago, leaving genetic echoes that help us reconstruct when those meetings occurred. New timelines keep refining our sense of when and how these meetings happened. Archaeology is the art of listening to silence, the empty spaces between artifacts. When we find a carefully shaped spear point, a bead, or a place where red ochre was mixed, we do more than catalog objects. We imagine decisions. Someone chose to make a bead, not because it changed survival that day, but because it said something. I belong to this group. I am marked. I remember. Across Africa and beyond, archaeologists have found moments that look like the beginnings of storytelling. Pigments stored in shells, symbolic use of objects, ritual burials. Those are the roots of culture, of the stories our species tells itself. And even when the evidence is slim, the implications are vast. Each little act of creativity stretches the possibility of what people could build together. Trust, trade, myth. Every culture has a story about origins, a creation tale that situates people in the world. Some speak of a first man shaped from clay, others of a sky woman who descended to the earth, others of emergence through caves. What if these myths are not just metaphors? What if, in some cases, they echo ancient memories of migrations, encounters, and hardships? Legends about giants, about hybrid beings, about people who came from across the sea. Taken literally, these tales are not history. Taken as memory, they suggest human minds encoding catastrophe, kinship, and contact across generations. Consider a legend of the walkers who came from another place. It might be a distant retelling of encounters between people with different tools, different clothes, perhaps different faces. When myths describe teaching, trade, or forbidden unions, they may be social memory, compressed and made symbolic. In this sense, folklore and bones are two languages telling parts of the same story. Neither replaces the other, but together they sketch a deeper picture of human life in the past. When did we become storytellers in full? When did language, with its recursive power, let us plan, mourn, joke, and lie? The fossil record cannot store sentences, but it can suggest contexts where complex speech was likely useful. Cooperative hunting, teaching skill across generations, planning long-distance movement. Fire, once mastered, changed everything. Cooked food opens calories, warmed bodies in cold places, and gathered people around a shared light, perfect for the exchange of stories. Evidence of hearths, pigments, and composite tools points toward a social world rich in communication. Whether there was a single cognitive revolution or a gradual accretion of capacities remains debated. What matters for our story is the image of small groups, year after year, improving craft and memory, each generation, passing on slightly more refined knowledge until a threshold of culture was crossed. Science thrives on disagreement. One model picture a recent, rapid cultural revolution that propelled Homo sapiens across the globe. Another argues for slow, uneven accumulation of modern behaviors across different regions. Multiple roots rather than a single tree. Genomics adds nuance. Genes move, populations fuse, and the neat categories of species blur. Some researchers see human evolution as a continental mosaic. Populations across Africa exchanging genes and ideas, slowly coalescing into what we call modern human. Others emphasize pulses of migration and moments of rapid change. Both views may be partly right. The truth may be that evolution is opportunistic, sometimes slow, sometimes sudden, always local, always connected. Open your palms and imagine them filled with invisible traces, small sequences of DNA, inherited from Neanderthals that affect skin, immunity, and perhaps even the risk of certain diseases. Imagine another fragment from Denisovans that help some highland populations thrive where oxygen is scarce. These are not relics for show. They are biological resources shaped by ancient choices. Modern genetic research is revealing unexpected connections. Some traits that once helped our ancestors survive, a more efficient immune response to local pathogens, an ability to metabolize certain plant toxins, persist in pockets in ways we are only beginning to understand. Our genomes are a palimpsest, written over again and again, with old lines still faintly visible. Asterisk. If you could visit a camp of early Homo sapiens, what would you see? Perhaps a person with a healed fracture leaning on crutches, not a sign of weakness, but of care. Archaeologists find evidence of individuals who were cared for long after serious injury, suggesting tight social bonds. You would see tools repaired and traded, shells moved long distances, and children learning by imitation. These small acts, sharing, tending, remembering, are the architecture of complex societies. Our ancestors survived, not because they were the strongest, but because they cooperated in rich, flexible ways. Language, empathy, and the willingness to teach made human groups more than a sum of individuals. Culture became a collective memory, a way to accumulate innovations faster than genetics alone could. For every bone we uncover, a dozen questions arise. Where exactly did Homo sapiens first assemble all the features we call human? How many times did we leave and return to Africa? How many unknown cousins, small populations like Homo naledi or Homo floresiensis, shaped our path? What cultural practices have been erased by time? Songs unsung, stories untold. Each new discovery reshapes the landscape of possibility. A jaw here, a bead there, a genome sequenced, a cave painted, a hearth found beneath layers of ash. Science is a detective story played out over millennia, and the clues are patient. They wait until we learn to read them. We tell origin stories to understand who we are and where we belong. The story of Homo sapiens is not a tidy epic of heroic conquest. It is a mosaic, a tale of many peoples, many choices, many accidents, and many acts of kindness that made long-term survival possible. The neat line between us and them dissolves when we see our genomes braided with others. When we realize the traits that make us human were shaped across continents. When we accept that culture, not just biology, has been our greatest tool. In the bones and in the genes, in the shells and the pigments, we find evidence of curiosity. The first artists mixed ochre. The first toolmakers imagined sharper edges. The first storytellers invented ways of remembering. Those acts of imagination are our inheritance. They are the original technology, the ability to hold a future in mind and work toward it. Ask yourself this: if our species' past is a braided rope of many threads, African, Eurasian, Denisovan, Neanderthal, unknown, then what kind of future can we imagine when we hold so many threads together? History tells us that diversity and exchange are engines of resilience. Maybe the oldest story in us is not about survival of the fittest, but survival of the connected dot. So the next time you look into a mirror, imagine the faces that shaped you, not as mythic ancestors, but as neighbors, teachers, rivals, and lovers. Their stories are stitched into your DNA. Their choices echo in your language, your hands, your songs. The silence between their world and ours has started to fill with answers, but it will never fill completely. And that is the gift of exploration. There will always be another mystery waiting to redraw the map of what it means to be human. We are, all of us, heirs to a very ancient conversation. If you want to listen longer, to walk deeper into caves and genomes, to meet the ghosts who live in our blood, come back. There are more stones to turn, more stories to tell. If you enjoyed this journey into the ancient past, don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to Fabelon Stories and hit the bell, so you never miss a tale from history's deepest mysteries. For more astonishing stories, hidden secrets, and untold legends, visit our channel, where every story brings the past to life.